Drake Nelson, ladies and gentlemen. Drake Nelson, coming to you from the Elk Valley Casino in Crescent City, California. And you're from here, right? You grew up here.
No, I grew up in Reno.
Oh, wow.
And that's where we met a couple years ago.
Oh, I thought you were just like lost, maybe had broke down gas.
That's kind of how
had car trouble.
Right. That's how people end up here. I'm always curious.
Yeah.
When I meet people here in Crescent City, like, how did you get here?
You
know what I mean? And like most people are from this area, they grew up here. But I got here right around when the pandemic started. So I was down there in Southern California.
Wasn't your mother living here?
Yeah, she's still here.
Okay.
Yeah. I came up because my dad was passing away from kidney disease. So my mom was like, hey, you need to quit sleeping on couches telling dick jokes down in Southern California and come up here and help me, with this transition of life, So that's what brought me here.
Well, I'm glad you got this gig up here because I really love this part of California, way up at the top where all the redwood trees are. And, just driving here from, from 1 mile is to the city of Crescent City. There's a big field full of elk.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. You can't beat it. That's why I'm not in a big hurry to leave this area either, is because, I mean, you're from Southern California. You get like the traffic, how it is, and the whole day revolves around what the traffic's going to be like, and you don't have that here. You can get anywhere in 5 minutes.
Okay, well then let's talk about my drive yesterday. I had to drive like 12 hours from LA to Crescent City. I'm 15 miles from Crescent City, and the road is closed. Because there's another atmospheric river falling from the sky right now. And there was a big rock mudslide and the road had been washed out. So I had to drive back to Eureka, 2 hours south, and get a hotel for the night. So, you might not have the traffic of Southern California, but you got landslides.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you made it, man. I was getting a little nervous.
Yeah, I was too. And I got really interesting history because I love coming up here. And I remember when I used to drive through here with my ex-wife, Ashna. I love thrift stores. And I remember one of the first times we were driving through here, we stopped at a thrift store. And this woman told us this amazing story. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but
I don't think so.
There was these fabulous women's clothes from the 1940s, like skirt suits and things like this. And the woman said that this man from Crescent City had passed away, and his family found this clothes. They didn't use the words then, but I guess he was secretly trans, and the guy had impeccable style, and nobody knew. He was a World War II veteran, and they just kind of like the Andrews sisters type outfits, just like beautiful clothing. And I thought, how sad that this guy, grew up here at a time when he probably couldn't go out in public.
Oh, yeah.
In these fabulous, expensive clothes. And where did he get it? I imagine that there was a place in San Francisco, maybe in the 50s and 60s, he would drive down and get tailored, beautiful women's clothing and maybe just sit around in his house in Crescent City and have little tea parties by himself in his fabulous outfits. So that's something that always kind of blew me away. Any other secret lives that you know of that are happening in Crescent City?
I've met interesting people that live in the redwood trees, and
really,
they clear. Some of them are rebuilding houses. They're construction guys. They're kind of choosing to live kind of off the grid, but close to the city. Some of these guys I've been meeting.
But they made a tree house, or they're living in a hollowed out trunk.
They have property with a little stream near it. They're probably weed growers, but they'll build their own house and stuff. And some of them are just making great videos about all the Smith River and stuff out here. And it's interesting.
It's so beautiful up here. And I just the redwoods thrill me, and the coast, even though it's usually misty and a little chilly.
Mhm.
I just it's one of my favorite places in the world, and I never really got Crescent City. I've been here so many times. I didn't. It wasn't until like 2 or 3. I think it was during the pandemic coming through here because I was dating a woman who was living in Portland, and we took all these epic trips during the pandemic. That I discovered the seals.
Yeah.
Or are they sea lions? What are they?
I think they're sea lions.
Sea lions. At the whatever that.
Yeah, a little chart room.
Yeah, the charter house, or was it the chart room? Right where that restaurant is. Just like thousands of these sea lions barking out there, and that alone is worth coming here for.
Oh yeah, and they hunt for these like fish in the little bay right there, and it's real interesting to see how they. How they get there, and the birds feed off it, and it's like this whole little ecosystem. There's like a lot of crab fishing here too. So the port here is like full of these crab boats, and like they're their own little kind of world that they live in, and they have their own politics that they go with, and it's a real interesting culture here. A lot of Native Americans here. There's all kinds of tribes here. A lot of Bigfoot. I mean, you know all about the Bigfoot.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm not really. The Bigfoot thing doesn't interest me too much. I'm more interested in the Native American tribes here, and the wildlife and the nature and everything is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words like those redwood trees until you get in it. It's a interesting experience.
Yeah, and the Avenue of the Giants, which is a little south of Eureka. That's one of my favorite drives in the world. And then from here, going up 101 up the Oregon coast, it's just absolutely stunning. I can't come up here enough.
So that's why, like, I'm not in a hurry to leave, and they know I'm a comedian. They're big supporters of comedy here at this casino. So they told me, in my interview, they were like, if you got to hit the road, go right ahead. Just let us know, so I can still take bookings, and so. It's like I'm not 100% professional comedian, but I'm still attached to the industry.
Yeah.
So I'm all about it. The casino's growing. You saw the gas station we're putting.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then
I thought it was interesting that the speed limit is 21 miles an hour. Right. That's for blackjack, right?
Right.
And the last time I was here last year, I was with a woman that I thought I would marry one day, and then that is no longer. So the different pages in the story of my life, when I come through Crescent City, you never know what my situation's going to be.
Well, maybe next year you can find one of those mysterious cross-dressing conservatives. Those are the best ones. The guys that hide it really well. You have no idea.
If he was a veteran, I would. Properly thank him for his service.
Exactly.
So you are in this movie, this documentary. Well, let's back up. Let's tell the story about, a few years ago, I was making these knowledge nugget videos, and I was in Reno, and you told me about this bunny ranch, and you thought it would be really good for a knowledge nugget. And I remember I went out there. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I wouldn't say I have any fans. I mean, maybe I've got like a handful of followers, things like that. But I didn't know how prostitution in Nevada would make an interesting knowledge nugget. And we went out there, and there was just a few women working, and I ended up not doing a knowledge nugget I could have researched. I bet there was a lot of fascinating knowledge nuggets about it. But you're in this documentary about the guy who owned the bunny ranch, right?
Yeah, Dennis Hoff, and was a pivotal person in the history of legal prostitution in Nevada. At one point, he owned about 80% of the brothels in the United States. That's just a fancy way of saying he owned a couple brothels in Nevada because it's not legal anymore.
Right.
But Dennis was an interesting guy. So was on one of HBO's highest rated shows for many years called Cat House. It was on the air for like 10, 11 years. And he was a comedy fan. So I got that job because of comedy. So I met this guy in Reno named Richard Hunter. I don't know if you know Richard.
Mm-mm.
He's a comedian, been opening for House Sparks for many years.
Okay.
So I met him in like the Reno open mic comedy scene, and he brought me out there one day to kind of show me what he does. And he was doing like a lot of their social media and video production and stuff. And it was just part of his job doing other administrative stuff. So it wasn't the greatest production. And I have a background in this. Like I went to film school and stuff. And I looked at his production and I was like, man, I can make this look a lot better, So I made Dennis like an audition video with all the stuff I can do. And he loved it, So he hired me. And he liked the idea of a comedian working for him because like if he wasn't in the brothel business, like he could have been an amazing comedian, just a brash storyteller,
So what was his story? Was he from Nevada or did he move there specifically to start open up?
No, that came later. So he was from Chicago originally and moved out to like Tahoe in like the 70s, right? Late 60s, early 70s. And he was a timeshare guy. So he was in the timeshare business. So that's where he made his money. So then he started, I think he had a girlfriend and she was a prostitute and he didn't know that. So they were dating and she's working out at the Bunny Ranch. So she eventually told him like, hey, I'm working over here.
Oh, so that place existed before he bought it.
Yeah, he wasn't the original owner. He bought it, I want to say, in the early 90s. But he started going out there as a client in like the mid 70s. So he befriended Andy Kaufman and Bob Zamuda. And
would they go to the Bunny Ranch?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. As well as the other famous brothel outside of Reno, the Mustang Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andy Kaufman was always real open about his going to prostitutes and visiting brothels and stuff. They talk about it in that Man in the Moon movie with Jim Carrey and stuff. And coincidentally, Bob Zamuda was like a producer on that. And Bob Zamuda, I mean, Bob, he's been around comedy for a long time. It was cool for me, like as a comedian, once I started working there. Nobody knew who Bob Zamuda was except me. They just called him Uncle Bob, And I got to have these really cool conversations with Bob because he started in the late 60s, early 70s in the New York scene and would tell me, all these cool stories about Jay Leno and, a lot of those older comics and stuff. So it was super cool. It was like,
any memorable stories?
He told me a story that gained me a lot of respect for Jay Leno. And it was that Jay Leno used to sleep in an alley behind the Improv in New York. So I think when I hear of guys that are willing to do that, for as far as stand-up comedy is concerned, I get a huge respect for that. Like it's going a different direction. But I heard a story about Hannibal Buress one time, same kind of thing. I heard he moved to New York before he had a place and would just sleep on the subway.
Wow.
Until some gigs would pop up. And that's like how we started. He was already established kind of in Chicago, but when he got to New York, somebody was telling me that. I was like, man, I like when I hear stories like that, But Bob was super cool. And he would do the Tony Clifton character every once in a while, which was super cool for me to see. Because I was an Andy Kaufman fan, before I started working at the brothel. So, but going back to Dennis, like that's how that relationship.
Yeah, I hope Andy Kaufman didn't stay in character when he was with the ladies.
I think he did somewhat. And so as you progress in the world of sex work, you figure out some people have kinks, right?
Okay.
And
he'd be Latka.
Yeah, something like that. But his kink was he liked to wrestle the girls. That was what would get him worked up, and then everybody saw him wrestling women. He was like, you remember all this?
Yeah.
Wrestling champ.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was
and
really like his kink played out in public.
Yeah, and he was really a dick, and he'd just be like push the women's faces. Right. And I remember being an Andy Kaufman fan, and when he got into wrestling, I was never into wrestling. I remember like thinking, oh, why is he doing this? So you're telling me that was his kink.
Part of it, yeah. The wrestling women part. He was a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And he had a huge respect for the business and stuff, you know, which I thought was cool because back then wrestling was still like considered real and stuff. You know what I mean? So when they did that whole angle.
I like pro wrestling because it's theater.
Definitely.
And you can spit on the actors. I obviously missed the boat because everything in America is like pro wrestling now. The villains and big and, you know, smackdowns and talking trash about people. So
I think all traditional sports are taking some little aspects of professional
wrestling. Yeah. So it's interesting because like when I started doing open mic nights in Orlando, a lot of the pro wrestlers and the local comedians hung out.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember I did cocaine with a lot of some of the early wrestlers like Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
And I wasn't into it. The other comedians were all, you know, wild for it.
Well, I think it's like music too, meaning like the entertainment business is reminded of each other. And what I mean is like I apply, by the way, I think I told you this. I used to be in the wrestling business. That's where I started.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, so I started out as a wrestler. So I apply a lot of what I learned in the professional wrestling business to comedy.
Well, in what way?
There's similarities, you know, like stealing jokes, stealing moves. You know what I mean?
So you would do that, or you're saying?
Yeah, it's looked down upon. It's
okay, good,
thing,
good,
right?
good.
But there's also like the crescendo to the show, right? So in wrestling, you have your opening match, and if they're doing moves that are too big, they're doing stuff off the top rope, if they're hitting with chairs and doing pile drivers, then that takes away from like the headliner, the main event guys, because now that you guys have already done all the cool moves. Right. So it's got to build to your main event. It's the same thing with comedy.
Like an opener or feature act doing a lot of crowd work.
Right. Like cursing too much.
Right.
So then like the headliner can't hit a fucking F word, right? I don't know if I can curse on here.
You can.
But now like the opener just took all that juice from the language.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of similarities like that. Same thing with like gimmicks, you know. You don't want to, if you have too many white guys on a comedy show, now it's that. So you need like a mix of people.
Yeah.
In wrestling, it used to be somewhat racist. You know, you can't have too many Asians. You can't have too many black guys. You can't have too many fat guys.
Yeah.
Right? You got to space it out. And not that like they try and do that with comedy, but, you know, you want to have like a kind of good mix of different performers, you know?
Yeah. I always loved Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, yeah.
Because the same name. And that actually wasn't his real name. His real last name.
Virgil
but
Runnels.
He was like the white trash Muhammad Ali because he had all these great rhymes. He would always say, I have wined and dined with kings and queens and lived with hobos in alleys eating pork and beans.
Oh, I love that quote.
And there was a great DVD documentary that came out, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And in the documentary, he talks about playing Orlando. And he was saying that it was like the most white trash crowds. Like it'd be like just toothless hillbillies and women with dresses and no panties on. And just like, just what a, you know, so, you know, you say that it used to be racist and my mind instantly goes to this image that he painted of the crowd in Orlando because Orlando was a pretty redneck town.
Yeah. And in wrestling, it was kind of open to be somewhat racist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like a guy like Junkyard Dog, you remember that name, right? He could only really main event in certain cities as a good guy, right? And then 20 miles up the road, he's got to be a bad guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just because of the audience.
Do you remember
difference.
Tony Atlas?
Oh, of course.
I did a radio show when I lived in San Francisco in the early 90s with Tony Atlas. And I said to him, it seems like there's more bad guys in wrestling now than there are good guys. And he said the most intelligent thing. He said, Tom, wrestling is a reflection of society. And now more people want to be the villain than want to be the good guy. And that like blew me away. Because
that's a good analogy, because wrestling can mirror society. So like one of the best bad guys I've ever seen was Sergeant Slaughter in the 90s.
Yeah.
And he used to be a good guy promoting America and stuff.
Right.
And then when they had the Iraq War, he came out as pro-Iraq.
Oh,
right?
wow. Yeah.
So, and people wanted to murder him. So his heat, and he was just the same guy off stage, but like,
right.
He made such a bad guy
character.
heel.
Was it Tony Atlas who, there was one wrestler who would always be getting his ass kicked, and then his leg would start to shake, and then he'd start to dance.
I mean, they all kind of did a lot.
No, but it was just
Hogan was the.
I think it was Tony Atlas's move. Like he just getting pounded, and then like you see his legs start to shake, and the crowd would go crazy.
Yeah.
And then he starts kind of dancing in place, and then just lets loose and comes back and wins.
He was called a baby face, so like he would always be at the bottom level, like thinking he's gonna die, and then he's got to bring the crowd back. The crowd's got to be on his side, so you got to bring him from level 0 to 10 in like a 30-second period. You know, it was so cool of entertainment. So
you wanted to be a pro wrestler?
Yeah. So I've done everything there is to do in the wrestling business. As far as like, I started as a wrestler. I trained for a year, and I wrestled sparingly. I destroyed my ankle in a match in Lake LA, somewhere just out in the middle of nowhere, right? So that ended the physical part. But then I started like promoting and producing wrestling. You know, with my television background, I started like making television shows.
Yeah.
Then I started like consulting other companies on how to like shoot wrestling properly, and how to edit, and how to buy good but maybe cost-effective gear and all that nerdy shit. I was a part owner of a company for a while. So, so I just really relate, that was my whole 20s was all about professional wrestling. Wow. Comedy was like dream number 4 down on the stuff I'd like to try.
What was 2 and 3?
Maybe basketball at one point. Like with this frame, I was real serious about basketball for a long time too. And, and filmmaking, of course, like who doesn't want to like make movies and get paid and write movies and stuff. But I just fell in love with comedy. And the reason I fell in love with comedy is I got paid my first time on stage. So I got like addicted real quick. Okay. Because in the wrestling business, when you're first starting out, just like comedy, it might be a while before you see any money. You just got to keep trying and stuff.
I was in Portland a few years ago, because I was dating this woman that lived in Portland. And at Harvey's, the comedy club, on Sunday afternoon, they had a wrestling open mic night.
Interesting.
And it was like young. And so I think that's really interesting now that there's kind of like beginners wrestling. Mm-hmm. And then, it was a great little small crowd, and they were really into it, and people are working on their characters and being the bad guy and getting the crowd juiced up. I mean, it's awesome that there's a place to develop that talent.
Right. And Portland's a great place for that because it's a huge wrestling city as well as comedy. Like comedy's still big there too. Yeah. So I would imagine there's a lot of crossover with these 20-year-olds that want to go, either into wrestling or comedy. You know what I mean? You know who's got a cool club is Nate Jackson's club up in Tacoma. Have you been up there?
Which one?
Nate Jackson's Super Funny Comedy Club?
No, I knew of the Tacoma Comedy Club. I didn't know there was another option there.
Yeah, you know Nate. Right.
Who's
He's
that?
blowing up online and stuff with this TikTok stuff. You know, he's like, he does crowd work and that's what's getting him popular. But he's got this club and I opened for Russell Peters up there. And I love his building because I look at it and it looks like a building that I think could have wrestling and comedy in it. You know what I mean?
So it's a big room.
Yeah. You know, and I just think a ring would go great there. So I always fantasize about having a room like that where I would have like comedy on Fridays and then wrestling on Saturday, something like that, or comedy during the week and then wrestling Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it would mesh really well, just blending those two genres of entertainment.
Well, Harvey's closed in Portland. So
well, they're doing like little pop-ups.
They're doing pop-ups,
right?
But I mean, I wonder what happened to that wrestling open mic night situation.
Yeah. Somebody probably got punched or something and they quit doing it.
I don't know.
The homeless were invading.
Portland's
so there's control. Have you been to Portland lately?
Yeah. What do you mean out of control?
Man, well, and I just say, in my observation, driving through there a couple weeks ago, the graffiti is out of control. I kind of like it too, though. So isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
I'm like, I like how eclectic it looks, but it's like, is anybody policing this shit at all?
Yeah.
It's like that building in downtown LA right now where they just attacked it with graffiti, you know?
I
You don't know what I'm talking about, though, right? There's a building in downtown LA right now.
Oh, like a skyscraper.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's right by it's like at Staples Center. It's right down there. And it's being held up in legal for like this.
Oh, yeah, and it's under construction. Right. I've read about that.
But these graffiti artists, if you can call them that, are breaking in there and they've tagged every floor on this thing. And that's what Portland looks like.
Okay. I was in Portland last year. I haven't, but I mean.
And I love Portland, by the way.
I love Portland.
Me too. I just,
Yeah, and I had to, I
up some of that.
I spent most of the pandemic in Portland.
Yeah.
And then taking all these epic drives all over Oregon. I had a really wonderful love story with this woman in that Portland period.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
I really love it. And it's a
cool
great comedy city.
Yeah. Oh man, those crowds,
And Pendleton.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with with Pendleton, which is from
It's a sharp
Oregon.
You always stay in really good shape, Tom. I got to commend you.
It's the last couple of years I got in shape. I ate so much chocolate and ice cream during the pandemic. Beginning of 2022, I was heavier than I've ever been. And I really got obsessed with hot yoga in the last 2 years. So there's probably not a hot yoga place in Crescent City.
They don't even know what yoga is here. I just have to tell them it's gay Tai Chi. And then they kind of, oh yeah, okay, I get it.
That's Boo Boo's taller friend.
Right.
Yoga Bear.
Yeah. No, you got a good look, man.
Thank you, brother.
I feel like I'm wearing Larry the Cable Guy's tablecloth for a shirt right now.
I just turned 57. I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to live till 57. So
how old are you now?
I'm just turned 44.
Okay.
I still feel pretty good, except for when I'm awake. When I'm awake, I'm in complete pain from being fat. Other than that, I'm doing great.
Well, you're leaving your mark on Crescent City. You're bringing great comedy to the Elk Valley Casino.
Oh yeah, man, I'm loving that. I'm getting to book my friends, so that's really cool. It's not that like it's breaking the bank or anything, but it's really cool for guys like you that I met years ago in Reno and stuff. I'm getting to repay some favors. You know what I mean? So, and then like we got the young guy opening tonight. I'm excited to be able to give
developing local talent.
Yeah, people that are taking it serious, like because I mean we all know.
No, then that last time I was here a year ago, you wonderful guy from small town in Oregon. It's like you there's a whole.
It might have been Casey Moran.
Casey Moran.
Yeah, Moran. Yeah, good guy. I met him years ago in LA. And he's been bouncing back and forth between this area and there too. So he reached out to me. He was like, "Hey man, I'd love to open for Tom." So to be able to make some connections like that, it's been super cool, man. But we all remember like what that first year was like getting into the comedy. So those first like road gigs and first green rooms and first hotel, shit like that.
Right.
So to be able to give these young guys an opportunity like that, they've been super appreciative.
No, and especially this area. What else is there? There's that Savage Henry Comedy Club in Eureka, and
Medford's got some stuff.
Eugene, there's a new room in Eugene, Oregon, but that's quite a distance between Eureka and Eugene.
So I host an open mic and kind of, showing these guys how to conduct yourself, backstage, comedy club etiquette and stuff like that. I'm experimenting with this thing at my open mic I host on Sundays where I'll do like 5 minutes of material, right? And then I'll bring everybody back on for like crowd work. Just to riff with ideas.
And you doing that here?
Yeah.
You do an open mic night here on Sundays?
Sundays.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's it's another cool thing. So I feel like the way that social media is forming comedy now, like you kind of have to have a lot of those skills.
Doing road work. Yeah.
Yeah. Crowd work and just suggestion and improv, as well as like have tight material. You know what I mean? Because I feel like for the next 10 years, 5 years, maybe you're going to have clubs that like have the old school belief of like, you stick to your time. It's got to be regimented material. And then that newer club owner is going to want your TikTok followers and they want that crowd work and they want, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a lot of people now are going to think that that's what stand-up comedy is somebody on stage doing crowd work and fucking with the audience.
Yeah. And it's technically not, but at the end of the day, it's like if you can, make some money in the business and get your own following, and I think everybody should kind of look at the future a little bit and be prepared for where it's going.
Posting on TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of what you kind of have to do it. I mean, every major working comedian's going to have some pretty decent social media now.
Yeah. I just got on TikTok. I don't know. I don't even think I've been on there for a year, and I've got 912 followers.
I got 400, and I have all the skills that you would want in a producer or a content creator. Right?
Yeah. With your film school. And
I got all the gear. I got cameras. I got lights. I got microphones, just like you do. But I didn't get in. I'm from that generation of like, I didn't get into this business to be a content creator.
Right.
I want to be a comedian. I just want to go on stage.
It's like having a job now.
Yeah.
You got to do so much stuff.
Right.
One thing I've been reading a lot about Gen Z is they really love books, like books you hold in your hand, and they love going to libraries. They like the because the artificial world of the internet. They like the authenticity of a community gathering place, and without the distractions of social media. But on TikTok, book talk is really popular, and people talking about books. So that gives me some hope for the next generation, that because the first thing I've thought when I got on TikTok is people won't be reading books anymore, ever. They're just going to be hypnotized by their phones and the apps.
Scrolling. That is good to hear, because I haven't really seen a lot. Maybe it's because I don't read. So you're a reader. You got books in your
I'm gonna start reading to the comedy club audience. That'll be my crowd work.
I've had this thought of I want to get a bunch of like street jokes, right? And there's some websites.
Great, yeah. I love street jokes. Yeah.
Well, what I want to do is have like there's videos that people make to listen to while you sleep, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I like to listen to like comedy conversations. That's what I like about Rogan. Is I like comedians talking about comedy, right? That's my little genre that I've fallen in love with. So, but other people want like ambient noise. They want just something to listen to. So I thought it'd be cool to read like 8 hours, not in a row or whatever, but like an 8-hour clip of just like dumb street jokes or a longer story, whatever.
Yeah.
so people can listen to jokes while they sleep,
That's cool. Like, give me a soft street joke for the
I have one that I keep in my back pocket.
somnambulist.
The one street joke that I tell that when people, I mean, you get this every 5 minutes in your career too. Tell me a joke, right? My joke is there's these two flies and they're sitting on a piece of shit and one of them farts and the other one says, "Hey, do you mind? I'm trying to eat." It's like a dumb, it's one of those dumb street jokes.
My favorite street joke, the late great comedian John Fox used to open with it. Two firemen are butt fucking in a smoke-filled room. Fire chief comes in and he says, "Hey, what the hell's going on here?" And the guy in the back says he had smoke inhalation. And the fire chief said, "Did you try mouth to mouth?" And the guy goes, "Yeah. How do you think this got started?"
Oh, so good.
Classic.
I wish I could write jokes like that.
Yeah. I mean, who comes up with street jokes?
I don't know.
Who is the originator?
I have no idea, but he should be making a lot of money,
Yeah.
Just throwing those out there.
So what's going to happen with this Bunny Ranch documentary? It's
already out.
What platform is it on?
So it's on Vice TV right now. And
Okay.
the series is called Sex Before the Internet. So they have a bunch of different topics they've done like VHS porn, and they did a thing on Ron Jeremy and a couple other
He's
topics.
in jail now, right?
Yeah, he's had a weird downturn. He's another guy I met out at the Bunny Ranch just once, he used to hang out with Dennis,
He was on my late night talk show in Amsterdam on the very last episode.
Oh, wow.
And my mother was also on that episode.
Interesting.
And
together?
And he was trying to pick up my mom, which yuck.
Yeah, you don't want that in your resume.
Vomit emoji.
Hey, guess what? Ron Jeremy fucked my mom.
No, my mom is super Christian too.
Yeah.
She had no idea who he was.
Oh, that's funny.
She had no idea who he was.
Wow.
And when you talk to him in real life, a really charming guy. You forget that he's can blow himself.
Yeah. I heard he had to quit after a while because he got too fat. Yeah.
Well,
it's a bummer.
That's good reason to eat salads if you had that ability.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a really cool production that I was a part of for Vice, for the Bunny Ranch. It was all about
So what was the most interesting thing about the guy? You said he's really fascinating character and he loved comedy.
Well, he was definitely a narcissist. So I'm sure you've been around plenty of narcissists being an entertainer, but he was also older. So his like online communication could be tricky to translate because he's typing with one finger and sometimes it's all caps. So you don't know if he's yelling at you or not in these stupid emails.
Yeah.
But he was this type of business owner that would put his phone number out there so anybody could just call him at any time. It was really he wanted to be involved in just little things, But yeah, he owned 7 brothels at one point. What got him in trouble, I think, is because when you combine narcissism and finance and power and sexuality and it can lead you into this path of you think you're untouchable. You know what I mean? And he would go out of his way to piss people off and try and get into these lawsuits with people. And he had money to fight the lawsuits. And, he reminded me of kind of a little bit of Jeffrey Epstein, meaning a lot of money, over-sexualized, untouchable. You just throw money at it and that problem's going to go away or get delayed. And, kind of like Trump in certain aspects, it must be nice to get a $300 million suit and lose that case and just, you had a bad day. You get to a certain level, you get that fuck you money. And Dennis was that guy that built this little world.
Where did his money come from?
Through the timeshares. So that's where he
Oh,
started.
okay. I thought he stayed in timeshares. So he had timeshares in Lake Tahoe.
So what made him...
So all the people that got screwed on timeshares,
right,
he made a fortune.
Funded his brothel
Wow.
business, you know. So, but he, you know, he put out a great book a couple years ago too, called Art of the Pimp, right? And he details like how he built his timeshare business, and he had places all over the country. And he started like training other people in how to do timeshares and how to sail and make money at it. So that's what he brought to the brothel business. Is he would train the girls to, you know, not have that mindset of you're a prostitute. You're a salesperson, and you're selling a product that is unique and legal only in Nevada. And it's not just sex and pussy. It's fulfilling fantasy, you know. So I used to get a big kick out of watching some of the more advanced girls negotiate with clients, because, you know, they'd be asking these questions, and in their head, they're coming up with a number to negotiate. You know what I mean? Where are you from? What do you do? They're doing crowd work with these fucking people, right? But you know, he would teach them how to invest their money and stuff, and get them involved in other businesses and stuff. And yeah, it was real interesting, you know, to see how this business worked. You know, it was like a lot of old Nevada. And while I was there, a lot of these old laws we had to go around as far as advertising and things like that. You know, we couldn't, the way the laws are written, we couldn't buy traditional advertising. So no print, no TV, radio, stuff like that. So we had to come up with these crazy marketing ideas to try and get into the news. You know what I mean? And so it was a cool way to try and get people to talk about the business, you know?
I remember I was living in San Francisco in the 90s, and I remember, I don't know if it was the Bunny Ranch or the Mustang Ranch or one of them, they were offering free visits to returning Iraq war veterans.
Yeah, I think that was a Bunny Ranch gimmick.
That was a pretty patriotic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We would do stuff like that all the time. We used to, I think we were in partnership with Penthouse for a little while. And we gave a couple free trips to people that were either injured in Iraq or anything like that, or just they have so much physical disability that the only way they can ever, you know, fulfill anything sexually is to come to the brothel, you know. So we had ramps put in and had all ADA, you know, regulations, because some of these people, society has kind of forgotten about their sexual needs. You know what I mean? We used to have like moms bring their sons in because, you know, there's no way that this guy with cerebral palsy is going to be able to meet somebody in a bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of other positive things about it, just helping people out like that. I used to love like hearing those stories of like an uncle bringing their nephew in on his 18th birthday. All right, we're going to buy you a piece of ass, kid, you know? And I think in today's American society, we don't educate our youth properly on sex. We just give them an iPhone and say good luck, and then they see these extreme videos on Pornhub or whatever, and that's not exactly the best way to teach young people about sex. You know what I mean? So I think like if you're 18 and you got a couple bucks in your pocket, like what a great experience to like sit down with a woman, a professional, and she kind of teaches you about the birds and the bees. You know, she takes your head and shoves it in her pussy, because that's what I was taught, you know. But yeah, man, I could talk about this stuff all day, man. I'm a brothel expert now. Really? Yeah.
Yeah. What are the best tips you can give people for?
Oh, that's a great question. So let's say if it's your first time, you just want to see what the experience is like, you'll ring the bell. All the girls that are working at that time will come out and do what's called a lineup, right? And they all give you their name, and they put you on the spot a little bit, and you pick a lady and you go on a little tour, And then she'll show you the grounds and, the bar and where all the sex toys and lubes and stuff is. She'll definitely show you where the ATM's at, and and this whole time, she's making small talk, and then you'll go to her room and then you'll negotiate. And that's when she'll give you kind of you'll tell her what you're into, and it's best to be completely honest. If you're into black girls and you're talking to an Asian girl, maybe wait for a black girl. Or if you like big butts or whatever it is that you're into, if you want a girl to just listen or whatever, because it doesn't have to be just about sex. So you come out there specifically for what you're looking for, and
How much for a hug?
you probably get a hug for free,
Were there coupons?
There was stuff like that, little discounts. Dennis used to have these little little chips he would give people, and they were like $1,000 credit. You know what I mean? So he would just say, "Here, that's on me," and there wasn't. She might not rock your world, but you have some fun with $1,000. So it was kind of cool for some people to get a free party.
So why did you leave this world of prostitution?
I know I kicked myself a lot because they wanted me to stay. It was like the greatest job because I'm paid to film beautiful naked women every day.
Is that what you were doing? You were filming?
Yeah, I was filming.
Just for advertising purposes,
right.
online
I would
and
do
stuff.
These little promo videos,
Right.
And I would talk to the girl, what kind of video you want to do? Because some girls, are vibrant on camera and some are a little shy, things like that. So I would collaborate with them and come up with like a cool video to show off, and then we did like a multi-camera production where people could be at home chatting and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then I hosted the podcast. You know what I mean?
The Bunny Ranch had a podcast?
Yeah, I think
Wow.
they still do actually. But that was a great learning experience for me, just sitting on a big couch with like 10 half-naked hookers that are sexually open. And I used to just fire off questions at them and make them laugh. And what do you think? What did you do? Who were you fucking this week? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was a cool job. And they supported my comedy like this place. They would allow me to hit the road. But I had accomplished everything I thought I wanted to do in Reno because there's kind of a limit to how far you can go in the Reno comedy world, So that's when I tried my luck in Southern California,
Cool.
That was like 2016.
Well, let me ask you one last question before we move on to comedy. What made that guy so memorable that he would have a documentary about him? The Bunny Ranch guy.
One of the big things that was in the news was the Lamar Odom thing.
Oh, that happened. Yeah.
So I was working there when all that happened.
Because wasn't he married to one of the Kardashians or something?
Lamar was, he was married to Khloe Kardashian and was on their reality show for many years. And basically he came out to kind of take a break from all that, for a week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the story goes, he was partying with a couple girls and was taking a lot of that herbal horny goat weed, like that herbal Viagra shit, and drinking and passed out. They couldn't wake him up, and they found drugs in his system, something like that. So he denied taking drugs, but has a history of drug use. And that was the story. So he almost died, he had brain damage and stuff, was in a coma for a couple days. So it was a huge news story. You got the NBA involved, Kardashian, drugs, prostitution. It's like a perfect storm of negative media coverage.
Did Khloe stick by him?
I think she did, actually. I think they were pretty much done in their relationship at that point. But I think when he woke up in the hospital, she was there.
Okay.
So now Dennis is like defending the business on all these shows, but kind of like poking the bear of the Kardashians too, because he knows we're going to get a lot of press coverage. And, we're talking Fox News is at the business every day and NBC. And it was like a weird, media frenzy. you know. And I was thinking like, oh, maybe I could ride some of this as a comedian. But they're like, Drake, don't talk to anybody. Don't say nothing. I was like, all right, you know. But yeah, it was a real interesting time to be around all that shit.
Well,
yeah.
So, so that's why the guy's memorable.
That's one reason. I mean,
Lamar Odom passed out at his establishment.
That's why he's famous. No, he really went out of his way to promote like legalizing prostitution nationwide. You know, like talking about the positive benefits of having like a strip club or a brothel. You know. So he spoke at Oxford about the positive effects of legal prostitution, and you know, he would combat some of the religious right that would kind of go after him, you know, about these ladies living in sin and all this stuff, and he bought out his competition, and he you know, like the reason he owned all these brothels is because the other brothel owners didn't want to like be in front of the camera and do TV shows and radio shows and stuff like that. So their businesses kind of started to decline. So he cut them all nice checks, really took care of them. And, you know, I think if you wanted to work as a sex worker for Dennis Hoff and you were a female, he would give you an opportunity. Like I knew girls that were blind. I knew girls with one arms. You know what I mean? If they were willing to like do the job, he would give people opportunities. And like, it's a weird sales position because it's a 50% commission. So you got to split the money with the house, 50%, right? But the sky's the limit as far as what you can negotiate with somebody. So like, I've heard stories of these whales that would come in that were CEOs of companies that were just bored and wanted to kind of be dominated because they got a bunch of yes men working around them and shit. So some of these girls could make like fantastic money in a week or two, and you never see them again because now they're paying off their student loans, they're paying off their houses, and they're, you know what I mean? They're getting, they're battling their court cases that they've been put, whatever it is. So like, I mean, it was a private business owner, gave a lot of people work. And it was, you know, he was a fun guy to be around, you know. But, you know, again, because of the narcissism and power, and when you're a millionaire in an area where everybody's scraping by, it gets to your head a little bit. So he would kind of, you know, he would date the girls, you know. So with that comes like immaturity, and this girl's not happy, and that one, and these two are going at it. So there could be some drama involved because of his kind of immature behavior. And I'm a fucking degenerate, you know what I mean? And I'm like, why is he behaving this way with this woman when we could be focusing, you know?
Well, like acting like a teenager in love type thing?
Yeah. Or play these little mind games. You know, you tell some girl, oh, you're going to be my girlfriend and you're going to make all this money, and then not follow through with that. And now you have like bitter employees working for you. So no other business can you like try and fuck everybody that you work with. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what he was doing. But overall, treated me fair, gave me a great opportunity, would come to my comedy shows and stuff. You know? So yeah, it was a wild time in my life, man.
Cool, man. And then you moved to LA and were working on comedy.
Yeah, I was driving for Lyft and Uber. I think I even saw you at LAX one time.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I remember that. I was coming.
Tom, what's up,
that's
man?
right.
Yeah. One of those things.
That's right.
I picked up Neil Brennan one time.
No shit, really? Yeah.
I did this.
He's one of the best comedians.
Tremendous.
God.
So it's cool to like, he gets in the car and I'm like, I know who you are, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was super cool. Like once he knew that like a real comedian was driving him and shit, we had a great conversation. So that was a cool little chapter too. But yeah, I was essentially living on my buddy's couch, just going to open mics and just, you know, trying to pick up gigs when I could down there.
Yeah.
I think I might even saw you too at the Ventura Harbor Comedy Festival. Do you remember that?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. That was about 2015, 16, right in there.
Okay.
But yeah, it didn't really pan out, you know. But I'm glad I did. I'm glad I tried it. I think everybody, you're going to have those unanswered questions,
Right.
You know, like, am I good enough to make it in LA? Stuff like that.
You got to have the right friends, and
That really,
it's,
the
you know,
support system. That's a great point.
It's if you don't, you know, this is my third time living in LA, and I hated it before.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you got to have a couple of really good friends
Right.
to talk to, lean on, cry to,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Now, you know Tommy Savitt?
No.
You remind me a lot of him just in how you guys conduct yourself and things. But he gave me some great advice when I was thinking about moving to LA. He said, Drake, don't come to LA until you're invited. And I didn't know what that meant until I got to LA.
Right.
And realized, like, it's a struggle, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's $1,500 no matter where you go for a studio. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's the old days. I think it's more than that now.
It's
Yeah.
insane. So
The rents are exorbitant.
right.
You know, the best advice for living in LA was from Betty Davis, who said, take Franklin.
That's funny.
Stay off Sunset.
Right.
It's where all the traffic is.
Right.
So, Drake, it's, you know, thanks for, you know, being a friend and supporter and, you know, bringing comedy. Are you going to do a comedy festival here?
I'm trying. I'm putting it together because that, you know, if I'm going to be here for a while, I might as well do as much as I can with somebody else's money.
Yeah.
So the casino is super supportive. So when I bring up these ideas, they're all about it. So the timing isn't necessarily the best right now, but we're building a hotel, right? So like, I think that would be just amazing for me to have 100 comics come in. They're all staying in the hotel. They're performing every night, you know, whatever
That'd be awesome.
that festival looks like.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the idea.
Well, I see a lot of Oregon license plates in the parking lot. So
We're only
you know,
20 miles from Oregon.
people are driving down,
Oh, yeah.
and this is the swankiest place in Crescent City. That could be a really great thing. I mean, and I love the beach and the ocean
Yeah,
is
it's
like
right there.
right here, and you know, you come out of to the main road, and it's not even half a mile.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And then you're 2 minutes from the redwoods.
Yeah.
You know, it's like such a serene place.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to bring people.
My style is I'm dressing like someone from Oregon. That's my secret
I
style.
like that. Brookings chic, we call it.
What does that mean? What's Brookings?
Oregon.
Oh, okay. Is that close to here?
Yeah, like 10 miles, 15 miles.
Oh, nice. Gold, Oregon, right up the street.
Gold Beach.
Yeah. Great thrift stores.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just had some great pizza up there from this guy from LA. So again, I was just like, what brought you up here? You know? Yeah, good pizza up there.
It's gorgeous here, man.
Yeah, I love it, man.
In closing, is there any words of wisdom or advice that you'd like to give to the people of the earth?
Yeah, don't look down on sex work. Sex work is work. And yeah, these people are just trying to make a living, man.
Yeah, when I lived in Amsterdam,
It's real big out there.
every episode I would do a 5-minute film where I would experience something of Dutch culture. And this woman who was a former prostitute, and she did social work for the prostitutes. She helped them get health care and pay their taxes and stuff. And she had started being a prostitute when she was young because she wanted to buy a dog. And she actually said in the thing, she said, I'm grateful to live in a country that if a woman wanted to do sex work, she could make a career out of that. And that's what she did. And then she even retired and has become like, you know, a matriarch of the women who are still doing it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I knew a lawyer one time that worked at the brothel. She was a lawyer in the Bay Area.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, she would just come out because she was bored, you know. She would help the girls with all her law stuff.
Then also
worked.
Wow.
You just, you know, you never know who's going to be in that kind of work, man.
Awesome. Well, Drake, thanks for being my friend,
man.
brother.
I appreciate
Long
you, bro.
may you
I got
run,
a lot
my
of
brother.
love and respect for you, Tom.
Thanks, Drake.
Glad you're here, man.
Hey,
We're gonna have a hell of a show tonight.
You've always been really kind to me, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
right.
brother.
Hooray and hallelujah.